Hey guys, this is Tom Hanks. Welcome to another stream. Today we will be having the third and final race in the weekend race car challenge. So I'll start BeamNG in just a second. First of all, I need to set some things up here. Okay, good. Yep, okay. Good, let's fire up BeamNG. And so you should be seeing it in just a second. Let me see. Is it actually up here? Because the okay, there we go. Right. So it was up. It was just that for me the preview here on YouTube wasn't loading. Okay. Anyway, good. Sorry for that. So today is the third and final race in the weekend race car challenge, and it will be on West Coast on the short race circuit. We will do one lap. And as always, we will start with the disqualified cars for a little bit of a warm-up. And then move on to the actual competitors. So, again, this is the Carine 5.0 Custom Sport. It's front-wheel drive. That's why it got disqualified. In the overall standings right now, we have the unnamed 60s sports car by Teacup in first place with 26 points. Then we have Aaron with Pizza with the... hang on. Aaron with Pizza with the Abbadelli J-884 in second place with 25 points, so only 1 point behind. And then 1 point behind him is the Armor Motors Sunburst. Which means we have 3 cars within just two points, and that means that if they finish in the reverse order of their current overall standings now, aka the Armor first, the Abbadelli second, and the unnamed sports car third, then we would have a 3-way tie for first place. And if 2 or more cars tie for first place after the final race, then the cars that are tied will be raced on a quarter mile to determine a winner. Come on now. Why is this front-wheel drive? I mean, in all fairness, this thing did perform pretty damn well on the last 2 tracks, but sometimes front-wheel drive is just a little bit frustrating. Hey there, no, this is only the first car of the disqualified cars, so, you know, the stream literally just started, so you haven't missed anything yet. This is one of the disqualified cars. The time of this doesn't count, this is just for me to get used to the track and warm up a little bit. So this will be a 126.4. Next up is the Iskra 320 Spider race, again disqualified, so the time won't count. And yeah. So we've had two different winners so far. We've had the unnamed 60 sports car winning at Hirochi, but before that we've had the Abbadelli winning at the automation short circuit. Are we gonna have a third winner today? So yet another car, maybe the Armor? Or is one of the previous winners gonna take another race today? Man, this thing is clearly lacking in grunt. Otherwise, nicely balanced car, but this is just... the acceleration is just not on par with the other cars here. That's because it only has 100 horsepower, of course. But anyway. The third and final one of the disqualified cars is going to be the WMC Kentor. And this is definitely going to make a little bit more power, since it's got a 3.5 liter V12 making 263 horsepower. This was disqualified because it was over budget, by the way. So guys, we have the overall standings, and if you click the link in the description below the stream, then you will get to the forum post. And in the forum post, in like the second to most recent post, you'll find the spreadsheet of the current standings. So should we do it the same way as in the previous two races and go in alphabetical order, aka the order in which they're listed here in BeamNG? That was way too early on the brakes. So should we go in alphabetical order, or should we go in opposite order of the current overall standings, aka the best cars go last? Hey Travik. I'll get to your question a little bit later, because it's a lot of text to be reading while trying to drive quickly. Anyway, that was terrible. I have a question. While we're still in the intro, have you ever kept any car that you particularly liked from previous challenges? Yes, I have. So in... Jesus! What's going on all of a sudden? This is an open diff. This is supposed to be easy to manage on power. So let's just be a little bit more careful for here then. And okay, so finally on the finishing on the home stretch here on this lap, 130.6. I think we're gonna see better here. Now I will drive my own car here as well. Because I feel like it's gonna be a pretty good representation for the kind of performance and, you know, handling for most of these cars in the actual competition. So guys, do we go in alphabetical order for the competitors, just like we've done in the previous races? Or do we go in opposite order from the overall standings as of this moment? Way too late on the braking point there. Okay, let's keep it the same as before then. Man, what am I doing here? Braking way too late for every corner is what I'm doing. Now I have already gotten this car around this track in a 127.1 in the past, but this time it was only a 128.4 because I missed a lot of the braking points. So yeah, that one's on me. I want to go in one more car before we start here. This is my mid-engined car, which I recently swapped the engine from a small V8 to now a 3.9 liter V12. Because I just wanted more torque, and I couldn't fit anything larger than 3.9 with a V12. And my PB around here with this is a 126.5. So let's see how close I can get to that. Same body as your car, indeed. On 128.0, that was a bad run for this car. I don't know exactly where I went wrong on that lap, but obviously pretty far behind my best with this. Okay, so we go in alphabetical order again. Which means the 1967 WRCC 1967 is up first. Now, I gotta remind myself here how to drive this car, namely to try and not be on throttle very much during mid corner, because that's gonna cause understeer. So that's gonna hurt it through here. Because here, these corners, you could normally go flat, but if that means massive understeer, then oh, and by the way, I was challenged on Discord. So Teacup made a 90s hot hatch with a 176 horsepower V10. Don't know how much that thing weighs, by the way, but anyway, he managed he managed a 126.9 and challenged me to go faster with one of these cars, which I very much believe is possible. Nice save up until that point. So yeah, the target is to beat 124.9 124.9 with any car. And I believe that there's at least one or two in this field that are capable of that. And 128.9. Next is the 67 Halpin Tornado V12. Yeah, I feel like maybe a diff would have helped, or maybe just making the rear tires slightly narrower or something like that. Something that reduces the on-power understeer would have helped that car. Also with the automatic locker, if it was worse. Okay. On 29.4. Not a strong showing from the Halpin this time. The problem is much of the engine is actually behind the rear axle, so the front gets levered off the ground. Yeah. In automation, the auto locker is effectively a welded diff, I think. Because it's always on and it's always like full lock, as far as I know. Next up, one of the favorites for the victory, both here and overall, the Abbadelli J-884. It is currently overall in second place, but only one point behind the leader, and it won the first race. So this is, I think this is gonna set a benchmark. It's more like the auto locking from the 4x4. Yeah. Now I don't want to mess up this lap because I know that this thing is very capable. Ah, come on. Okay, completely missed the braking point there. That was not the best entry to that chicane, but 125.5. I know this car is capable of more though. I haven't had a very good run here. I know this can do much faster than this. So should I give it another shot? Or should we just stick with one lap per car as we always... I think if we're gonna keep it consistent, we have to do one lap per car. I mean, obviously I... One and done. Okay. Yeah. Good. Next is the Armor Sunburst. Because it's like, okay, if you're gonna give one car a second shot, you to make it fair, then I'd have to rerun every car that didn't get a perfect lap, and that would obviously take way longer as well. Yeah, the first complete lap should count. It was my mistake to not get a faster car than that, but that might potentially leave the door open for some competitors like this one. that drift was not intended to be that long, and that cost quite a bit of time there, 127.5. But again, it is what it is. First complete lap counts. Could have done better, but it is what it is. I also think that in the future there should be a maximum number of attempts for each car to encourage participants to make more drivable and user-friendly cars. That's yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about that. By the way, next up is the Buckingham Express RR by Sedan 57 Chevy. And there's something else I've been thinking about. Namely, and you're going to hear me out on this one. You're going to have to hear me out on this one. And I'm going to actually say this before I start racing this car, just so I can focus on one thing at a time. So instead of streaming, how about in the future, I would race each car basically off camera to get the fastest possible time that I can. Then obviously note down all the fastest times and the results in a spreadsheet, and make a little bit of footage of each car, and make like a compilation video that basically counts down the cars in the reverse order of how they finished. Now the disadvantage of that is, for one, you guys don't get to see me driving the cars live. And also the other disadvantage is that it would take a whole lot more time. But the upside, it would take a whole lot more time for me to make. But on the flip side, I could probably get closer to each car's maximum potential. It would maybe make for a fairer competition, because, you know, I'm going to take the best car and the best time with each car. And so whatever happens then is closer to how the cars, stack up in reality, I guess. $133.5 for the Buckingham Express. Or you could do a 2-lap race to have the first lap a test and the flying lap the next. See, the problem with that is, if I do a 2-lap race, right, you'll have the scoreboard at the end, like right here. But if I hover over a time, I won't see the second lap time. So what this means is that it would be very hard to kind of go back and double check which car was the fastest on that flying lap. So it would make it quite a bit more complicated than I think it really needs to be. Next up, the Delta Derp. Now, I really feel like, doing doing it on stream like this is definitely has its advantages, mostly for me, because I just basically set up the stream and press my hotkey. I don't have very much work with this after initially setting up the challenge, but it can also, my performance on the day can vary from day to day, of course. I mean, I'm a human being after all. The front of this is too sharp and too pointy. The rear end can't follow, and it's just a pendulum. This car should be good around this corner. And it was. You see me manually changing into second gear on this auto, because that at least helps somewhat mitigate the time loss from this very slow transmission, but even so, that's what's holding this car back more than anything. 131.4. Next up, the F&S Rattler GTO V8. Now, while we're here, and as I mentioned earlier, that I was challenged by Teacup to be the 124.9 in one of these cars. I don't know. I didn't want to bring this up, but I was practicing with almost all of these cars off camera on this track. And in the Abbadelli, I actually mentioned the 124.4. So I've already beaten that challenge, but I don't have video proof on it. And so you might believe it or not. So I really wanted to get close to that, which is why I was so disappointed in the 125.5. Because not only is it like a second slower than what I managed off camera, but also more importantly, this time doesn't beat the challenge. And whenever I get challenged like that, I wanna beat it, you know. $128.7. That's actually a solid effort from the F&S Rattler. Might score it some points this time. I don't think it actually scored so far. No, it didn't. Other than for styling, obviously. Next up, the Falcon Warrior. So this one, you say, is fast enough to beat the 124.9. Which means it would have to be faster than the Abbadelli. It hasn't beaten the Abbadelli yet in the first 2 races. But maybe in the right hands it's fast enough to beat the 124.9, and maybe I'm just not the right driver for it. With a 14.5 first split, that can't be. That can't be right. $130, 131.8. All right. Again, maybe it's me, but the fact of the matter is that while the engine is actually fairly strong in this, the one in the Abbadelli feels stronger, and the handling is nothing like the Abbadelli's at all. Partly due to the diff, but also partly due to the suspension setup. Next up, the HRP Aero. HRP Aero 5.0 Club Sprint. Now this has an incredibly torquey V8, and it is very, very difficult to control. Probably one of the most difficult to control cars in the entire field. And it is also a car that I feel like, while it did do reasonably well last time, I still think I don't quite have the capabilities of getting the best out of this car. Maybe I would with a wheel, but this car does not respond very well to like strong steering or throttle inputs. Now the throttle I can modulate quite easily with the trigger finger, but the steering on the controller, you'll never be able to be as delicate as with a wheel. Am I always too late on the braking point there? Okay, I'm gonna go again. But this thing is really difficult to try and drive fast. You could see me during all of these corners that I was extremely careful with the throttle and obviously the more you can be on the throttle during corner, the faster you can potentially go, but also the faster you can potentially run off the track as well. Okay. Don't lose it now. I had to be extremely careful there, otherwise I would have lost it. 128.4. Again, I feel like this in the hands of a more skilled driver than myself, this could go probably quite a bit quicker, potentially even in the 126 or 125 range. But for me, this is just too difficult to drive at that level. It's not very driver friendly. But it can be very fast if you get it right. Next up, the Kumos Kestrel Inline 6. I mean, This is coming from someone who, if you've watched me last year in the classic rally competition, you know that I've driven, 600 plus horsepower Group B cars up Pikes Peak, which is not the easiest thing to do either. But this here on asphalt, getting a front engine rear wheel drive, extremely torquey and lightweight car around the track quickly. It requires different skills from driving a rally car up Pikes Peak on gravel as well. Okay. That was my mistake, by the way. Let's do that again. And that time not run over the gravel. But yeah, this inline 6 also feels strong, and this car has been a pretty consistent mid-pack performer. What am I doing? Like, am I okay today? See, that's how you can go through that corner. Very slight bit of rotation through that long right-hander did help quite a bit here. Had to go that way, otherwise, wouldn't have made it through the chicane properly. Oh, come on, right at the finish line. we're finishing this one. 129.2. Oh man. I apologize, by the way. Like, I'll be the first to apologize for my performances today. I genuinely don't even know what's up because it's not like I'm sick or anything. I'm feeling okay. I mean, maybe it's a little bit hot in here, but other than that. Right, up next is the Longley Project F8, F8 Corp. Due to open diff, one tire fire. One 134.070, which I believe, yep, is last place out of the actual competitors. Next is the Mayster Triumph 2.0 Autosport, which came fifth in the, no, it came 6th in the first race and then 4th in the second race. So a pretty strong contender here. But it is overall too far behind that it would have a realistic chance of winning. I was way too early in the brakes. 14.0, we can do better than that. And then I brake too late and thereby too hard and then the car spins. Okay. We gotta find the right middle ground here. Like that. 125, 26, 127, 127.7. Again, a solid time. This places it in third place at the moment. Behind the Armor and behind the Abbadelli, but ahead of the HRP. Next up, the Miranda Senator, which is one of the two cars where I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to finish a lap. Though probably more so with this than with the Flintster, but yeah, we'll see. By the way, guys, while you're here, don't forget to leave a like on the stream. It really helps. But the Miranda, it does have like one of the, it feels like one of the strongest pulling engines here, which is why I'm so kind of disappointed that the suspension tune is so off. Because I'm sure with the right tune, this could have been a contender, because look at it go once it goes and hooks up. Okay, don't use the curbs in this one. The suspension is already very bouncy without that. To be frank, this engine feels just as torquey as the one in the HRP. Try to save it from understeering into the wall by introducing oversteer, which is always scary, but we did make it through. 130.4. That places it relatively far back, but actually kind of in the middle of the pack for right now. Next up, the Sanford Flintster, and that is... how many attempts do we give this? Let's just determine that now. 10 attempts. Because at Hirochi, the reason I feel like I was able to finish there is because the way you drive this is by only using the brakes very sparingly, so only very briefly, only a brief tap at the brake pedal. But and then on Hirochi, because it doesn't have very many long braking zones, I was able to get away with that because I could just use engine braking for the rest. But I don't know how well that's gonna work here. So, 9 more. didn't die that time. Wasn't a quick first split, but, you know, we're alive. Eight more. Now this has more power oversteer than I was seeing on Hirochi and on Automation, but yeah. The first corner here is like the bane of this thing's existence. 7 more attempts. Six. Did get it slowed down. You have no idea how much work it is to try and drive this car and drive it quickly. 5 more attempts. Four. So the braking for this chicane is going to be interesting as well. I was really early and soft on the brakes there, so normally in other cars you could have braked way later than that, but not in this. 129.4. Okay, not a fantastic time, but I finished at least. Next is the Shelbie Python Talladega, which actually performed fairly well in the first race, where it came 5th and then 7th in the second race. Right. Let's see. This reminds me a lot of the Abbadelli because, you know, the same body, same or sort of similar looking rear spoiler, flat brain V8. But of course, this is actually way more forgiving to drive. But still very quick. Look at that, 126.9. So that puts it into second place so far. Just behind the Abbadelli and in front of the Armor. The Shelbie doesn't quite feel as quick in a straight line as the Abbadelli does, but it handles well and it is very forgiving. In fact, if I were to choose one car out of all of these that was actually very fast and very easy to drive, it would be this one. Next up, the Tartesso Maria Race Salvage by Etzel. So, mathematically speaking, because the Armor was 1 point behind the Abbadelli before the last race, and it is now behind the Abbadelli, the Armor can't win overall now. The Abbadelli still can win overall, but also we still have yet to see the unnamed 60 sports car. So much understeer with this car. But the one upside to this particular car is that I can slam the brakes and see they don't lock up, the car doesn't spin. And this is the only car like that in this field. So I can go hard until like here and then brake hard. They did lock up there at the very end, but it's nice not having to watch like every single braking point and fighting to keep the car under control when braking. It's a nice change of pace. How to download this game? You can buy it on Steam. And by the way, what I'm doing here is driving cars that my viewers made in automation games, so I highly recommend buying both games so that you can make your own car in automation and then export it to BeamNG and drive it, which is what we're basically doing here. Next is the Turana Levina. And the Turana Levina actually came third in the first race, but then in the second it only came 9th. So let's see how it does here. Actually, you can also brake hard with this. Well-balanced car. And a quick time of 127.6. That places it just behind the Armor, currently in 4th place. Solid performance. But next up is the unnamed 60s sports car track prototype. Now this absolutely smashed like everything in the second race. And it came very close to beating the Abbadelli in the first race, but just fell short. So I'm feeling a little bit of pressure on myself, because this is notoriously difficult to keep the tail in check, but really quick if you can. Gonna leave it in second gear here. Just about lost it. So your prediction is it actually won't win here. But I'm gonna do my best here to give it a solid effort. That was gonna be a good time, I could feel it. Even in second gear at like 3000 RPM, there's nothing but oversteer through the corner. That's how much torque this has. This feels very fast. Kept it in check. 123.9. Not only is this now in the lead, it also beats my personal best that I did with the Abbadelli in like off camera, and most importantly, it beats your challenge. Next up, the Viaggio Udine Strade Corse. Nice one. Actually, almost exactly my lap in that car too. Really? Okay. Well, I tried to keep it as clean as possible in this lap, and I will say I had a bit of a driver error with the Abbadelli on its lap coming into that corkscrew-esque chicane in the near the last third of the track. Oh, so you did 123.8, so yeah, close enough. I'm gonna reset this one because I was too distracted by chat here, but so this, while it does also have an automatic locker, it doesn't feel like there's enough grunt to really kick the tail out when you want to. It's nice and drivable as a result. Well, there on the transition there, which was for that right-hander basically a Scandi flick almost. There it broke loose, obviously, but yeah, place 13, but I think that would still rank it within the points because we've had some DQ'd cars and some of my cars in between as well. So I think this would still score this time. And lastly, the Wells Juliet. So the Wells Juliet, I believe, came... Well, it came like second to last in the first race, and it came second to last again in the second race. So I don't have high hopes for this one here. But we'll see, maybe it can redeem itself here. Couldn't get it to drift out of that last corner. 133.1. So this is near the bottom again, but it is third to last this time. Not second to last anymore. So anyway, the winner of this final race, and therefore the winner overall, is the unnamed 60s sports car track prototype. Congratulations to Teacup. You really could have thought of a better name though. Next up in second place, and therefore second place overall, is the Abbadelli J-884 by Aaron with Pizza. Give me a second here. So I gotta type in all these numbers myself today into the spreadsheet because I don't have an assistant here today. That's okay. Third place was the Shelbie Python Talladega, which means this gets 8 points this time. So that's pretty damn good. That's here. So 126.965. Next up, the Armor Sunburst. Next up, the Turana Levina. Very solid performance there. Then we have the Mayster Triumf with a 127.787. That gets 5 points. Then we have the HRP Aero 5.0 Club Sprint, which I managed to get round in one piece. There it is. That was a 128.408, and I'll get 4 points. Next up is the F&S Rattler GTO So this actually scored today. That did 128.767. Then we have the 1967, WRCC by Viaggio. So that did a 128.928. Then we have the Viaggio Udine Strade Corse. That's there. This did a 128.983 and got the last available point. $129.221 was the time of the Kumos Kestrel. Unfortunately, 0 points this time. Next, the Halpin Tornado, 129.459. $129.475 for the Flintster. $130.451 for the Miranda. Then we have the Tartesso with a 131. Where is it? 131.064. The Delta Derp came in with a 131.445. Falcon Warrior 131.889. Then we have the Wells Juliet 133.151. The Buckingham Express 133.591. And lastly, we have the Longley Project F 8 carb with a 134.070. And that's it, guys. Don't forget to click the like button before you leave. Thank you for watching, and the next challenge will be published next Saturday. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next challenge. Until then, have a good one. See you next time. Bye-bye.